There is something worse than being followed in the woods. It is looking up and seeing yourself standing at the tree line. Same jacket, same pack, same way of standing that you have never noticed about yourself until you are seeing it from the outside. 3 people submitted accounts to this channel describing exactly that moment. None of them have hiked alone since. All 3 say the same thing about the moment they saw it. The first feeling was not fear, it was recognition. My marriage had just ended. Not dramatically, just quietly, the way some things end, with 2 people realizing they had been strangers for longer than they wanted to admit. I needed to be somewhere that didn't know me, somewhere I didn't have to explain myself to anyone. I had been hiking the Blue Ridge for 6 years. It was the one thing in my life that had stayed consistent through everything else. I knew those trails the way you know a road you have driven 1,000 times, not by thinking about it, just by moving. I planned a 4-day solo trip. Just me, my pack, and the kind of silence you can only find when you are genuinely far from other people. The first 2 days were exactly what I needed. I didn't see another person. I cooked over a small fire each evening and slept well for the first time in months. On the afternoon of the 3rd day, I found a good campsite. Flat ground near a stream, good tree cover, the kind of spot you feel lucky to find. I set up camp. I got the fire going. I filtered some water and sat down to eat. I don't know how long I'd been sitting there when I looked up. There was someone sitting on the other side of the fire. My first thought, and I want to be honest about this because it is the part that still bothers me most, my first thought was not who is that. It was that's me. Same blue rain jacket, same gray hiking pants, same orange pack leaning against the log behind them the exact same way I had leaned mine. They were sitting the way I sit, left elbow on left knee, head slightly forward. I know that posture because my ex used to tell me I sat like I was waiting for bad news. I sat completely still. I want to tell you I assessed the situation calmly. I did not. Every part of me went quiet in the way that happens before your body decides what to do next. Not fear exactly. Something older than fear. I looked at the face. It was looking at the fire, not at me. The firelight was moving across features I recognized the way you recognize your face in a bad photograph. Close enough to be unsettling, too close to dismiss. I do not know how long we sat there, the fire between us, neither of us moving. Then it looked up. I cannot describe what happened when it looked up in any way that does not sound like I am exaggerating. The eyes were wrong. Not the shape, not the color. Something behind them that was not the thing you expect to find when you look at a person across a fire. I stood up. My body made that decision. I backed away from the fire, slowly, the way you back away from something when you have not yet decided how afraid you are. And when I had put enough trees between me and the firelight, I turned and I walked. Not ran. My body had decided that running was the wrong signal to send. I walked for 3 hours in the dark. I did not look back more than twice. When I found the trail and followed it to the road, I sat on the guardrail and I tried to understand what I had seen. I cannot tell you what it was. What I can tell you is that it was wearing my jacket. It was carrying my pack, and it was sitting in my campsite like it had always been there, and I was the one who had arrived uninvited. I left my tent, I left my food, I did not go back. The same jacket, the same pack, the same posture his ex used to point out, sitting at his fire like it had always been there. Does the fact that the first feeling was recognition and not fear tell you something about what it was? Or does something that sits at your fire without looking at you tell you it already knew you were there? Drop your answer below. And before we go into the next account, drop a comment and let me know where in the world you are watching from right now. I read and reply to every single comment on this channel. We are pushing toward 100,000 subscribers before the end of this year. If these accounts mean something to you, hit that subscribe button and help us get there. Every single subscriber counts, and this channel only grows because of you. My friend Dio and I had been doing AT sections together for about 3 years. We were not serious thru hikers, just two people who liked getting away from the city for a few days at a time. We had done this particular Virginia section twice before and knew it well enough to feel comfortable on it. It was the second day of a 3-day trip. We had gotten a late start that morning and were pushing to make our target campsite before dark. Dio was ahead of me on the trail by maybe 30 feet. She was moving well, better than me, which was normal. She was always faster on uphill sections. I was watching her pack ahead of me, the way you watch someone you know well on a trail. Not really seeing her, just tracking the movement. And then I realized there were two of her. One was ahead on the trail where she had been, moving at her pace. Her pack, her walk, that slight lean forward she has on uphills that I have teased her about for years. One was standing just off the trail to the right, completely still, watching the one on the trail. I stopped walking. The one on the trail kept moving. It did not look back. It moved exactly the way Dio moves, and I have spent 3 years watching Dio move on trails, and I could not find a single difference. The one standing still was also exactly Dio. Same jacket, same pack, but it was not moving. It was watching the other one. I opened my mouth to call out to her, and then I did not. I cannot explain why I did not call out. It was not a decision I made with my brain. Something in me understood that calling out was the wrong thing to do in that moment, and I closed my mouth and I stood on the trail and I watched. The standing one turned its head and looked at me. Dio's face, looking at me from beside the trail while the other Dio kept walking ahead and did not look back. I looked at the face for 1 second, maybe less. And then I looked away and I started walking. Quickly, toward the Dio on the trail, eyes forward. I caught up to her and I touched her arm and she turned around and it was her. Completely her. She asked me why I looked like I was about to be sick and I told her I had slipped a little on a route. I did not tell her what I had seen for 4 more months. When I finally did, she was quiet for a long time. And then she told me that at one point on that same section, she had looked back down the trail and seen someone she thought was me, standing completely still about 40 meters back. She had not said anything because the figure had been completely still, and something about that stillness had told her not to acknowledge it. We had both seen something on that trail. Neither of us had said a word. We had both understood, separately and at the same time, that acknowledging it directly was the wrong thing to do. We have not done that section again. I do not think we will. What do you think was standing still beside the trail watching the version of Dio that was walking? And does the fact that both of us separately understood not to acknowledge it tell you there is something in us that already knows the rules for these encounters? Drop it below. The third account tonight comes from a solo camper who woke up in the Smoky Mountains to the sound of her own voice outside her tent. Not someone calling her name. Her voice. Having a conversation she was not having. That is the third account tonight. I want to start by saying I am not someone who scares easily in the outdoors. I have been camping alone since I was 22. I am 31 now. I have spent nights in places that would make most people uncomfortable, and I've always felt at home in the dark in a way I cannot really explain. Spring, 2024. 3-night solo trip in the Smokies. The first 2 nights were fine. On the 3rd night, I woke up at what I later checked was 2:20 in the morning. I did not wake up because of a sound. I woke up the way you sometimes do in a place that is not your bed. Suddenly and completely, like someone had flipped a switch. No transition, just awake. I lay there for a few seconds getting my bearings. And then I heard it, my voice, outside the tent. Not someone calling my name. My voice, speaking, having what sounded like the first half of a conversation. The kind of sentences you say when someone else is speaking and you are responding. But there was no other voice. Just mine. I can describe what it felt like to hear your own voice coming from outside the place you are sleeping in, but I'm not sure I can make you understand it without you experiencing it. It is the specific wrongness of something familiar in a place where it is completely impossible. I lay still. The voice continued. The cadence was mine. The way I trail off at the end of sentences when I am thinking, that was there. The specific pause I do before I say something I am not sure about, that was there. Whatever was outside my tent had not just copied my voice, it had copied the way I speak. The conversation, if that is the right word for half of one, went on for maybe 2 minutes. Then it stopped. I did not move for a long time after it stopped. I lay in my sleeping bag in the dark and I breathed as quietly as I could and I waited. Then I heard footsteps, not running, walking, slow and deliberate. They circled the tent once. I counted the steps. 24 steps for a full circle at a pace that matched mine exactly. I know this because I walked that circle myself the following morning and counted. Then they stopped and there was nothing. I did not sleep. I waited for first light with my knife in my hand and my boots already on, and when it was light enough to see, I unzipped the tent and looked out. The campsite was empty. The fire I had let die down the night before was cold. Everything exactly as I had left it, except for the footprints. 1 circle around the tent, my size, my stride length. But I had been inside the tent. I broke camp immediately. I did not make coffee. I did not eat. I packed everything that mattered and I left the rest and I walked out of those mountains at a pace I have never matched before or since. I have told this account to 4 people. 3 of them gave me rational explanations. Animals, sounds carrying strangely through the forest, half-asleep confusion. The 4th person, who has spent more time in the Smokies than anyone I know, listened to the whole thing and then said only, "You did the right thing by not answering it." I have thought about that every day since, not answering it, because the thought that it was waiting for me to answer, that the conversation outside my tent was not for itself but for me, is the thing that I cannot put down. His own voice, his own cadence, the exact pause he makes when he is not sure, footprints his size in a circle he did not walk. Subscribe to Obscure Nights right now. Does the voice having a half conversation, speaking as if someone else was answering, tell you it was practicing? Or does the fact that it stopped when she did not respond tell you her silence was the right answer? Drop it below. 3 accounts, 3 encounters, 3 people who came back, and all 3 of them, separately without knowing each other, did the same thing. They did not acknowledge it directly. The hiker did not speak to what was sitting at his fire. He backed away slowly and did not run. My friend and I both looked away and kept moving and did not call out to what was standing beside the trail. The camper did not answer the voice outside her tent. This is not a survival technique anyone taught them. It is not in any wilderness safety manual. But all three arrived at the same response independently, and all three came home. Whether that is instinct or coincidence or something else entirely is a question this channel cannot answer. What it is, practically, is the most consistent piece of information across every account of this kind that has ever been submitted to Obscure Nights. Do not engage directly. Do not run. Do not answer. Move toward something known. A trail. A road. Another person. Move at the pace of someone who has not seen anything unusual. And if you ever hear your own voice coming from outside the place you are sleeping, do not answer it. Whatever it is waiting to hear from you. Don't let it. To the three people who trusted Obscure Nights with these accounts, the hiker who left his tent in the Blue Ridge and has not gone back, the two friends who kept each other's secret for 4 months, the man who counted 24 footsteps in a circle he did not walk. Thank you for trusting this channel with what happened to you. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Links in the channel bio. And if you want to support Obscure Nights, we are working toward replacing the AI voice with a real voice actor so these stories sound the way they deserve to sound. The support link is in the bio. This is Obscure Nights, where the cases nobody talks about get told the way they actually happened. Good night.